Good morning, all of you. In today's session, we are going to continue with the CSIR NET JRF Chemical Science June-November 2020 Part C, Series 1, right? So previously we completed about Part B session in the single recording video, okay? So entire Part B Chemical Science question paper have been covered in the previous question paper. In today's session, we are going with what partition of all part C question papers questions into different series is. Okay, so in each series we are going to cover 10 questions, right? So in today's session, part C 10 questions are going to be covered. Let us enter into our actual concept. Before entering into that, let us see how extent it will be helpful for you. So if we discuss with the previous year question papers, we will learn about how the pattern of examination, and it will be helpful for your competitive examinations and the what entrance examinations as well. So let us discuss about 10 questions of this part C. So here question paper is taken from IFAS Chemistry Academy. So the question paper courtesy is given from the source. Then let us enter into our part C series 1 questions. We are going to cover 61 to 70 questions. Total 10 questions are going to be covered in today's session. So all 4 marker questions are going to be discussed now. Question number 61. Among the following complexes, one showing highest rate of substitution of carbonyl ligand heating with one equivalent of triphenyl phosphine in decalin is. Okay, they're asking for when these following complexes taken and where the highest rate of substitution of carbonyl ligand is possible with the triphenyl phosphine. Okay, so substitution, so there should be a substitution. So all are the tricarbonyl complexes. Among all provided tricarbonyl complexes, here all manganese complexes again, but only the difference is attached ligands. Here we have cyclopentadienyl anion, and one more is in this cyclopentadienyl all hydrogens now replaced with phenyl groups. In third one, hydrogens replaced with methyl, and in the fourth option, here entire ligand is changed, that is turned into indyl moiety. Now let us see how the complex is present and what will be the highest rate among all the given options. So here these are the complexes provided to us. One is manganese, which is surrounded with 3 carbonyl and one side indenyl moiety is there. Neta 5 indicates what? Number of electrons released from that ligand. So neta 1 means 1 electron will be donated. Neta 2, 2 electrons. Neta 5 indicates 5 electrons given by that heterocyclic system, right? So here this system is able to release 5 electrons to the manganese, and one more complex is C5H5, where we have cyclopentadienyl, which is attached by 5 methyl groups, and one more is cyclopentadienyl, again phenyl groups are there, 5 phenyl groups are present, and one more is that uncovered, that means unsubstituted compound. These many are provided. We have to predict only highest rate, where the highest rate will be there among all the given compounds. So whenever indenyl group is present, that used to facilitate the rate of the reaction. So let us see how the mechanism followed and how the reaction is proceeded, right? So when we are taking indenyl substituted manganese complex, here heptacity of this indenyl functional group is neta 5. 5 electrons are donated by this one, and which are released into the manganese system, right? So during this SN2 mechanism, when ligand, that is PPH3 triphenyl phosphine ligand is approaching, what happens? Its heptacity will be reduced, so that manganese will accompanied by some electron deficiency upon that. In order to get reactive with in either ligand, there should be an electron deficiency, then only there should be a formation of new kind of bond. This is a kind of SN2 mechanism. Always we can regard SN2 mechanism as a associative mechanism. First ligand will be added, later existing functional group will be departed. That is the strategy of SN2 mechanism. So that we have to generate the electron deficiency on the central metal by turning its heptacity. Heptacity is nothing but number of electrons released by the ligand. Here, indenyl moiety initially is releasing 5 electrons to the manganese. Here, in the second case, we reduce the heptacity to neta 3 so that one shell will become vacant on this manganese, which is susceptible to react with the new ligand, that is triphenylphosphine. Whenever triphenylphosphine is added, there is a possibility of such a type of complex. This is a kind of associative mechanism. Later, after approaching this ligand, we can remove this carbonyl group from the system so that again it turned into the system of substituted one. Okay, this is called a dissociation step. Okay, in SN2 mechanism, association is the first step, dissociation is the second step. Hence, we can regard this mechanism as associative mechanism. Whereas SN1 proceeded with generation of intermediate followed by the attachment of nucleophile is possible, right? So that's the reason why among all the given options, indenyl having high tendency to release the electrons and facilitates this substitution of carbonyl with the PPH3, right? So because of this reason, for question number 61, option number 4 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 62. In question number 62, the correct electronic configuration of frontier molecular orbitals of manganese neta 5 C5 Me taken 5 whole twice is. Here it is the kind of a sandwich compound where we have cyclopentadienyl anions are present in both the sides and the central metal manganese will be there. Hence, we can say such pyroxene and its related compounds are said to be sandwich compounds. Here also we have manganese in between and above and below the plane we have two different ligands of cyclic system. Here it is represented in this manner. So around the manganese, we have cyclopentadienyl anions, which are surrounded by 5 methyl groups upon them. Then what they are asking for? The correct electronic configuration of frontier molecular orbitals. We already know that when manganese was taken, it is the system of d5. Manganese is always regarded as a d5 system. So 5 electrons are present in the d orbital. Okay, so it is possible to arrange all these 5 electrons in two different manners based on its ligand approach. If it is associated with strong field ligand, now low spin mechanism will be followed. If it is weak field ligand, high spin mechanism will be followed. Let us observe both the kinds. In high spin complex, what happens? Here the energy levels are regarded as 3 levels. One is E2G bonding level, and second is A1G non-bonding level, and third is E2G anti-bonding level. 3 levels are possible for this D5 system of manganese here, right? So whenever 5 electrons under high spin nature, high spin nature stands for always orbitals are singly occupied first, latter pairing is possible if extra electrons are there. So here all 5 electrons are distributed in these 5 orbitals because first electrons enters into these low level in accordance with Abbe principle. Latter, third enter into A1G non-bonding level, and the next 2 electrons enters into E2G anti-bonding level, right? So this is about the electron distribution in the D5 system of high spin. Next, then D5 system of low spin is considered. Low spin always what is the strategy? First 2 electrons enters into E2G bonding level. Later, electrons got paired. Under low spin complex, always pairing up electrons are possible. Then the extra electron now enters into the next level, that is A1G non-bonding level will be filled. Okay, so this is about low spin filling of D5 system of manganese. Whenever we observe this complex, manganese associated with a strong field ligand. Hence, we can regard this as a low spin complex. So, in case of low spin complex, filling of electrons in accordance with E2G4. So how many electrons are present in E2G level? 2 plus 2, totally we can regard this as E2G. 4 electrons are there. And A1G non-bonding orbital is having 1 electron. That's the reason why we mentioned A1G non-bonding having 1 electron. Hence, possible answer will be E2G4, A1G1. Where it is mentioned E2G4, A1G1. So option number 2 will be the right answer for question number 62, right? So this is about inorganic chemistry reaction mechanism, where we can fill the electrons in accordance with the field strength of the ligand. Field strength of the ligand mainly depends upon the spectrochemical series. Ligands which are laying topmost region are strong field ligands, and bottommost region are said to be a weak field ligands. Obviously, cyclopentadienyl, which is associated with methyl groups, is regarded as a strong field ligand. Hence, we can assign this as a low spin complex, where configuration will be in the second manner rather than first kind. Hence, we can denote its electronic configuration as E2G4 and A1G1. Right? The right option will be option number 2. Let us move on to question number 63. In question number 63, it is given again inorganic chemistry problem, where 2 different metal complexes have been given. Then they subjected to heating. One is molybdenum complex, second is rhenium complex. They subjected to heating. What are the products after this thermal interaction? Right? Now let us see what will be the product. Manganese N2, nitrogen molecule, 2 molecular nitrogens are there around molybdenum, and PMa2PH taken 4. These 4 ligands are present. This is one kind of octahedral complex of molybdenum. And second is rhenium chloro N2 PMa2PH taken 4. So this is another complex. How many ligands are there? 4 plus 1, 5 plus 1, 6 ligands are there. Obviously, wherever chloro ligand is found, always it used to form the bridging compound. Whenever we observe chloro ligand in the complex, always it used to form the bridging complex, right? So let us go with heating of these 2 complexes and what will be the expected products in both the cases, right? So let us see first compound molybdenum. So in this molybdenum, central molybdenum occupied by 6 ligands in this manner. 2 nitrogen molecules are present within the complex. 2 nitrogens are occupying axial positions, and remaining 4 phosphine moieties are occupying this equatorial square planar region, right? So this is about the complex we are getting. So it is obvious that nitrogen molecules are better departing agents and better leaving groups. Hence, upon heating, these 2 ligands got discarded from the system, and this octahedral now turned into square planar complex. After getting square planar complex, what we are doing? We are heating the complex again. Upon heating, there is a kind of rearrangement within the molecule. Here you can clearly observe that in 4 ligands, phosphorus is the electron releasing agent, and being it is the monodentate, used to give only 2 electrons to the system, right? 4 ligands are present around the molybdenum, and 4 phosphorus atoms are donating electrons to the central molybdenum in that case. Upon heating, there is a slight rearrangement within the molecule. Now we turned into one of the ligand, one of the triphenyl phosphate, one of the phenyl dimethyl phosphine ligand is turned into a linkage type of isomerism. What is meant by linkage isomerism? If ligand within the molecule, we are replacing one ligand with another. So initially phosphorus is releasing electrons. Now phenyl ring is donating electrons to the metal, where 6 electrons. So it is obvious that benzene used to give, benzene is the kind of 6 pi electron system. It able to release 6 electrons. Hence we denote this as neta 6. This is not N6. It is the kind of neta 6. Neta 6 stands for 6 electrons given by this phenyl ring. Here the ligand is phenyl rather than phosphorus. So this is a kind of linkage isomerism. So this is only observed when amphidentate ligands are present. What is meant by amphidentate ligand? If any ligand which is having more than one electron releasing group, then you can assign that as amphidentate. I'm giving simplest example. When we are taking CNS ligand, there is a possibility of donation of electrons by carbon. There is a possibility of donation of electrons by nitrogen even. So in this manner, we can give a ligand which having provision for donation of electrons by more than one kind of ligand is called amphidentate. Here in this dimethyl phenyl phosphine, phosphorus is able to give, and even phenyl ring is able to release. Phenyl ring is of 6 electron system. So these 6 electrons given to the central molybdenum, and remaining 3 ligands remain same. This is a kind of compound generated upon heating, where we can find that PPH3 taken for MO mu. So here there is no provision. There is no provision to get chloro group in this starting compound, because mu Cl type of compound on molybdenum will be discarded. And in case of first option, what we have, neta 6 PHP Me2MO. So there is a possibility, because neta 6 here, one of the triphenyl phosphine dimethyl phenyl phosphine, here phenyl ring is giving 6 electrons. This is a correct one only, and remaining only 3 will be there, because how many ligands are there here? How many are there? 4 phosphine units are there here. 4 phosphine units. This may not be correct. So one of the phosphine unit is rearranged, and remaining 3 will left on this molybdenum as unreacted, unaffected. Option number 1 may not be correct. In option number 2, they mentioned molybdenum is associated MuCl in molybdenum and rhenium, both the complex. It may not be correct. In option number 3, neta 6 PHP Me2 phosphine, where we have phenyl as an electron releasing group. This is a correct one. And the leftover things are PME2 pH whole taken thrice. So this is the exact statement what we obtained by heating. Then let us discuss about second possibility. That means rhenium. What happens when rhenium complex got heated? So in that case, when rhenium complex, again it is in the form of octahedral state, it can be represented here. Rhenium surrounded by 4 phosphine units in this equatorial position, and one of the nitrogen molecule is occupying axial, and another chloro is also occupying axial position. So this is about the traditional octahedral complex. What happens upon heating? Nitrogen being it is a better leaving group used to discarded from the system, and we will get the system of trigonal bipyramidal, right? After getting this, there is a generation of electron deficiency, right? Because initially it is the kind of 18 electrons complex, 18 electron system, being it is more stable. Now it turned into 16 electron system, because we lost 2 electrons by the removal of this ligand. Hence it requires more 2 electrons. That's why electron deficiency is generated upon this rhenium. When we are subjecting to heating, there is a possibility. Chloro is obvious to generate a bridging compound. So it is the it is the ligand of bridging nature. So that's the reason why upon heating, there is a probability of dimerization through bridging chlorofunctional groups. So here it requires excess of this intermediate compound, so that here dimerization is possible. Already we have 4 phosphine moieties around the rhenium. So around the rhenium, 4 phosphine moieties are located like that only. And each rhenium is having chloro. That's why again each rhenium chloro is contributed like this. So here bridged chloro is denoted with MuCl. Mu stands for that is forming a bridge between 2 metal centers. So this is a kind of compound generated upon heating of this 5 ligand system of rhenium. So that option number 3 is satisfying, where we have rhenium which is associated with 4 phosphine units and 1 in, and MuCl taken twice. We are linking 2 rheniums by 2 chloro ligands. Hence here 2Cl is a correct one only. And in either side we have rhenium, PMe2PH taken 4, right? So this is only the exact complex what we obtained upon heating. That's the reason why for question number 63, option number 3 is satisfying the exact product formation upon heating of these two complexes, right? Question number 63, option number 3 is the right answer. Let us move on to question number 64. Question number 64 states that, again, it is a part of inorganic chemistry, and the coordination complexes have been given. Two coordination complexes, one is of cobalt, second is of chromium. Both the complexes are given here, and they are treated with 5 water molecules. These two octahedral complexes mixed under aqueous conditions, and there is a possibility of 2 products here. So what we have to do when we are adding these two complexes, so it is very clear that one of the complex is having chloro functional group in that. So just now we discussed chloro is able to form a bridging nature. Bridge, it used to link the two metal atoms by the bridge formation. Whenever any two complexes are proceeded with bridging ligand, if the mechanism proceeded with bridging ligand, so there is a possibility of electron transfer through the inner sphere mechanism. Electron transfer is of two kinds. One is outer sphere, second is inner sphere mechanism. Outer sphere mechanism stands for if two distinct reactants got reacted, exchange of ligands or anything is possible. Later, products are generated, again they can be easily distinguished. There is no any contact, there is no any bridge formation, that is a kind of outer sphere. In case of inner sphere mechanism proceeded with a bridging ligand. Here, chloro is working like a bridging ligand. Hence, it is the kind of inner sphere electron transfer. Let us see what are the probable products and what are the probable products A and B in this reaction mechanism. Here, initially we are taking cobalt NH3 taken by Cl whole di positive, and the second is it is not H20, it is H2O. Chromium H2O taken 6. Right, chromium H2O taken 6. Right, so chromium H2O taken 6 plus 2 plus 5 H2O plus gives rise to products A and B. So this is the problem given to us. We have to predict what are the products these A and B, right? So in this reaction, due to the presence of chloro, it is the kind of inner sphere electron transfer, right? So first we are taking two different complexes, octahedral cobalt complex, octahedral chromium complex. In first octahedral cobalt complex, it is associated with +2 charge on the complex and one more chloro ligand is there. Hence, cobalt is in +3 oxidation state. So in the second one, all water molecules being these are neutral, so we can assign direct charge present on this as its oxidation state. Hence, chromium is in +2 oxidation state, right? So now there is a formation of bridge. Chloro being it is bridging ligand which used to link up two metal atoms in this manner. So cobalt to chromium, a bridge formation is possible in this manner. Through this bridge, electron transfer is possible. Where to where? Cobalt to chromium electron will be transferred. Initially, cobalt is in +3 state, chromium is in +2 state. So by the transfer of electrons, so cobalt is in +3, chromium is in +2. By the transfer of electrons, what happens now? Cobalt turned into, by loss of electrons, it turned into +2 state, and chromium by gaining electron turned into +3 oxidation state, right? So here it is the formation of bridge in between two different complexes. So let us see Cobalt is in which system? D7 electron system. So D7 plus 2 oxidation state. Here we have the table. All the D7 systems are said to be labile complexes. What is meant by labile? When ligand exchange is very convenient, so ease of ligand exchange is very faster, those complexes are said to be labile complexes. Whereas the complex which is very difficult to exchange the existing ligand with the newly coming ligand is said to be a inert complex. When chromium is in +3 oxidation state, we can denote it as D3 system. So when D3 system was taken, what is the strategy? When D3 system was taken, always the complexes are said to be inert in nature, right? That means it is very difficult to remove the ligands from the system, right? That's the reason why the cleavage of bond may not be possible in this direction. Instead, here the being cobalt is a labile complex, here the ligand cleavage is possible conveniently in between cobalt and chlorine. So that chlorine is associated with chromium and cobalt lost one of the chlorine atom from this, right? So this is about the mechanism during the bridge formation between cobalt and chromium and electron transfer from cobalt to chromium. So cobalt turned into +2, chromium turned into +3 system. After getting this, what is another component? Another component is 5 water molecules under acid catalyzed conditions. Now 5 water molecules are added here. Whenever 5 water molecules are added to these two compounds, already we know cobalt compound is labile and the chromium compound is inert. So inert compound may not participate in any kind of ligand exchange reactions, and this cobalt compound is very prone to participate in this ligand exchange reaction because of labile nature. That's the reason why we can conveniently replace all the ammonia ligands with water, so that this is turned into cobalt complex turned into hexa aqua complex, whereas chromium is turned into monochloro penta aqua complex. So these two are the final products after the reaction. You can assign compound A as this cobalt and compound B as this chromium chloropenta aqua complex. So let us see what are the probable answers provided here. Cobalt hexa aqua +2 and chromium penta aqua chloro +2. So this is the correct option where we are getting two products in this reaction. This purely depends upon the inner sphere electron transfer, bridging chloroligand, and nature of labile and inert complex. We can selectively add water molecules to the cobalt system rather than chromium system. That's the reason why for question number 64, option number 3 will be the right answer, right? So this is about the reaction mechanism, and these two are the products obtained in the reaction. Let us move on to next question, that is question number 65. Electronic term symbol of N2 positive. So we have to predict the term symbol for nitrogen molecule with the monopositive. This indicates one of the electron lost from the nitrogen molecule. It is obvious that nitrogen molecule is of 14 electron system. When we are taking N2 positive, it is of 13 electron system. Let us arrange all these electrons in this molecular orbital diagram. Let us observe this molecular orbital diagram of nitrogen. So one side, let us assume that N positive is there, in either side nitrogen atom is there. So in order to form the molecule, we are taking nitrogen atom one side, nitrogen positive ion in either side, because we have to get N2 positive. So what is the electronic configuration of nitrogen? It is of 13 electron system. 13 electron system. And what is the electronic configuration of nitrogen? 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. It is a kind of half-filled system. S orbital, we have 2 electrons. In 2s orbital also we have 2 electrons in this. Then 2p orbitals is half-filled system. So this is about the electronic configuration of nitrogen atom. Now let us distribute these electrons in molecular orbital. Before that, let us go with n plus even, electronic configuration of n plus. When we are taking n plus, what is meant by n plus? One of the electron from its valency shell is discarded so that it is n plus. Okay, so that system we are taking 1s2, 2s2, 2p2, n plus atom. 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 2 system was taken. And the second one is 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Here it will be 1s2, 2s2 and a 2p3 system is there. So in this case, filling of electrons in accordance with above principle, 1 is bonding followed by 1 is anti-bonding, 2s bonding followed by 2s anti-bonding. So there is a strategy in order to fill the electrons for less than half filled and more than half filled. Less than half filled pi orbitals are laying down, more than half filled sigma orbital will lay down. So it is a kind of less than half filled system. That's the reason why. So we have to arrange these orbitals in this manner. Pi 2px, pi 2py, both the orbitals are of lower energy. Sigma 2pz is of higher energy, right? How many electrons are there in atomic orbital? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons are there. We have to distribute these 5 electrons in the molecular orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is about the filling of electrons into molecular orbital. So here 1 electron is present in sigma 2pz orbital. This is a requirement in order to assign the term symbol for us. Sigma 2pz electron is there. Sigma 2pz electron is there, right? So sigma, if sigma bonding is there, we have to assign that as a Gerard orbital. So if sigma star antibonding is there, that can be regarded as the ungerade orbital. Pi bonding orbitals when present, that is regarded as ungerade. Pi antibonding always regarded as a Gerard orbital. Where the electron is there, sigma orbital is having not anti-bonding, bonding orbital is there. That's why sigma bonding, hence we can assign Gerard orbital here. For this, Gerard orbital is assigned. Now, in which orbital? Sigma orbital is there. That's why L value is taken as 0. Sigma orbital L value is taken as 0 for this. If L value is 0, here two type of arrangements will be there. So in case of L value for atom, if you are only denoting L value for atoms, in that case SPDF term symbol is given. But what is the condition here? We have to give the term symbol for the molecule of N2 positive. So in order to get the term symbol for the molecule, the term symbol is associated as L is equal to 0 denoted with sigma, L is equal to 1 denoted with pi, L is equal to 2 denoted with the delta, L is equal to 3 is denoted with pi. So this is about the term symbols. So here what is L value for this? L value is given as 0. So for the molecule, L value 0 is taken as a sigma. So sigma term symbol should be taken. And already we got one thing, that is sigma. For sigma bonding, always we have to assign Gerard. So here two terms we got it. Sigma Gerard is obtained. Now we have to get its multiplicity. Spin multiplicity should be obtained, right? How many electrons are there in this valency shell? Only one electron is there. That one electron in the valency shell is associated with spin of 1/2, right? So here let us apply the spin multiplicity formula. 2s plus 1, 2 into 1/2 plus 1. 2 get cancelled, then 1 plus 1, it will become 2. Spin multiplicity value is given as 2. Okay, so here L is equal to 0, we got sigma. Sigma bonding electron, that's why Gerard, and spin multiplicity calculated as 2. Then what is this? Positive. If positive sign is there, that denotes electrons are present in bonding orbital. If negative sign is denoted, that indicates electrons are present in antibonding orbital. Where the electron resided, valency electron is resided, sigma bonding. This is bonding orbital. Hence, it is assigned as Hence, it is assigned as positive sign. The correct term symbol for N2 positive molecule will be 2 sigma gerade positive. 2 sigma gerade positive is given here. So that will be the right answer for this N2 positive. For question number 65, sigma 2 gerane positive is the right answer. Let us move on to question number 66. As per the Vesper theory, shape of SO3 minus 2, carbonate minus 2, Br4 minus R respectively. Here, in this inorganic chemistry, in this Vesper theory, we have two type of representations. One is geometry of the molecule. Second is about dimensional shape of the molecule. What does geometry indicates? In accordance with this hybridization, if molecule is assigned with its structure, that is called a geometry. For example, if you are taking sp hybridization, obviously it will be linear structure. sp2 hybridization, trigonal planar. sp3 hybridization, tetrahedral. dsp2 square planar. sp3d trigonal bipyramidal. sp3d2 octahedral. This is about the geometry. Geometry stands for a regular arrangement of atoms in accordance with its hybridization, right? So in accordance with its hybridization, even if a lone pair of electrons are present, if ligands are not there, a lone pair of electrons are present, they are also assigned as a ligand and the exact structure will be predicted. But when we are discussing about the shape of molecule where lone pair of electrons will not be considered here, their position will not be considered, and the shape is somewhat different, somewhat distorted kind when compared to its geometry, right? So let us predict a shape of SO3 minus 2, CO3 minus 2, and BrA4 minus. For these three molecules, we have to assign their shape of the molecules in accordance with Vesper theory, right? So let us go with first one, that is SO3 minus 2. So in case of SO3 minus 2, what is the name of SO3 minus 2? Here we just assigned that SO3 minus 2 is called a sulfite ion. So the structure will be represented here. S double bond O, and more two oxygens are there, O minus and O minus. These are called the oxide ions. And here is the possibility of resonance. How can we resonate? So here pi bond sometimes present in between these two sulfur and oxygen. Later, here pi bond is delocalized and this turned into sigma bond. Here adjacent to O minus will be there. And otherwise, here this also got converted into double bond O. In three ways, you can represent their canonical forms, right? So this is about the representation of this sulfite ion. And in case of sulfite ion, electronic configuration of sulfur will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. So under ground state conditions, 2s2, 2p4 electron distribution will be in this manner. 2s2 will be there, 2p4 electrons are assigned in this way. But how many bonds are required for us? 3 sigma bonds and 1 pi bond is required, which are not given by these two electrons. Hence, we have to excite one of the p electron into adjacent vacant d orbital. So that when one of the electron is excited, what happens? 2s2, 2p3, then what we can say, it is not the kind of 2s2 2p3, sorry, it is the kind of 2s2 2p4 2p6 3s 3s2 3p4. So this is the possible electronic configuration of phosphorus, sorry, electronic configuration of the sulfur molecule, right? So let us give superscript to subscript in a clear manner. It will be superscript and here also superscript will be there, and 2p6 electronic configuration is there, and 3s2 system will be there, and 3p4 system will be there. This is about the arrangement of electrons in this, and it participate in sp3 type of hybridization will be assigned for the molecule. Let us go with its hybridization and geometry and subsequent structure of the molecule. Okay, so here you can clearly observe one second. So here in sulfur, what is the electronic configuration? 1s2, right? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 electronic 2p6, 3s2, 3p4 electronic configuration is there. So here electrons are distributed in this manner. You can assign one of the electron can be excited into this d orbital, so that it involved in sp3 type of hybridization. Whenever sp3 hybridization is possible, one of the electron will be unhybridized. Always hybridized orbitals participate in sigma bond formation. Unhybridized orbital will be participated in pi bond formation. Then how many pi bonds are required for us? Within the molecule, we require only one pi bond for this oxygen. That's the reason why this electron present here will participate in pi bond formation. And here we have 3 unpaired electrons. That's why 3 sigma bonds will be generated. And this electron pair remains as non-bonding. Sulfur is associated with one of the electron pair which is non-bonding in nature. It is the lone pair. Already it is in paired state. That's why no bond formation is possible for this one. So that here the possible sigma bonds are 3 and one lone pair is there. One unhybridized p orbital participated in pi bond formation. What is the hybridization? sp3 hybridization is there. Okay, so the traditional sp3 hybridization leads to give the geometry of tetrahedral. It is very simple prediction. sp3 hybridization, the geometry will be tetrahedral. But within the molecule, we have one of the electron pair. So 3 sigma bonds and 1 electron pair is there. In that case, the shape of the molecule becomes a trigonal pyramidal, just like ammonia. NH3 also having similar kind of structure. Both are isostructural, we can say, right? In ammonia also, being it is sp3 hybridized, there is a possibility of tetrahedral geometry, but trigonal pyramidal shape will be there. In the same manner, SO3 minus 2 is also having trigonal pyramidal shape of the molecule. Now let us go with another one provided within the problem, that is CO3 minus 2. Second compound is carbonate ion, CO3 minus 2. Carbonate ion participate in sp2 hybridization and it is of trigonal planar geometry. Let us see how it can be predicted. So carbonate ion represented in this manner, carbon double bond O minus will be there. CO3 minus 2 charge will be there. So for this carbon, electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p2 configuration under ground state conditions. So s orbital 2 electrons, p orbital 2 electrons. This is a valency shell. So 2s2 2p2 will be like this. But how many bonds are required for us? 1, 2, 3 sigma bonds are needed. That's the reason why more one electron can be excited into this, so that it turned into 4 unpaired electrons. 4 unpaired electrons are not required for sigma bond. How many sigma bonds we need? Only 3 sigma bonds. That's why it selectively participate in sp2 hybridization, because we require only 3 sigma bonds. That's why sp2 hybridization, and this remains as unhybridized. Unhybridized always participate in pi bond formation. How many pi bonds are required for us? Only one pi bond is required. That's why here the molecule is participate in 3 sigma bonds and 1 pi bond formation. This will combine with oxygen, this will combine with oxygen with the sigma bond formation, and this unhybridized orbital will participate in pi bond formation. So sp2 hybridization is there, no lone pair of electrons. That's why geometry and shape of the molecule remains similar, identical. So for sp2, geometry will be trigonal planar, even shape of the molecule is trigonal planar. So carbonate, trigonal planar is the geometry and shape as well. Now let us move on to third problem given in the question. Tetrafluorobromate 3, BRA4 minus have been given. This is the third compound for us. So tetrafluorobromate 3, central bromine is in valency electronic configuration of bromine will be 4s2 4p5. 4s2 4p5, how many sigma bonds are required for us? 4 sigma bonds are required. Only one odd electron is there. That's why how many electrons should be excited? These 2 electrons can be excited into d level, so that we turned into 4s2 4p3 and 3d2. This will be the excited state electronic configuration. How many sigma bonds are required? 4 sigma bonds. That's the reason why we have to hybridize this in the form of sp3d2 hybridization, because we have one more negative charge in the molecule even. That's the reason why sp3d2 is the hybridization. When sp3d2 hybridization is there, these 2 lone pair of electrons resided on the central bromine. So bromine is associated with lone pair of electrons. Now sigma bonds are formed by 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 electrons participated in sigma bond formation, and this electron present in the hybridized shell only, that used to form the charge on the central bromine. Charge is generated by this last electron. These 2 are the lone pair, and 4 electrons participate in sigma bond. This last electron will be the charge present on the central bromine. Being it is the sp3d2 hybridized system, geometry of the molecule is octahedral, either d2sp3 or sp3d2, both comes under octahedral nature only, right? So here the geometry is octahedral, but what is the thing here? There is a possibility of lone pair of electrons, right? Whenever lone pair of electrons are present and only 4 ligands are present around this sp3d2 central atom, the geometry will be square planar. It is clearly represented in this manner. Around the bromine, 4 fluorines are occupying regular square planar arrangement, and bromine associated with lone pair and more 1 electron negative charge is there upon this. So this is the exact representation. We can assign the shape of the molecule as square planar. Geometry of the molecule is octahedral. This is about the question number 66. Sulfate sp3 hybridization, and the shape of the molecule will be trigonal pyramidal. Carbonate sp2 hybridization, trigonal planar geometry will be there. BrA4 minus, a square planar shape will be there. So this is about option number 3 is a right statement for all these 3 compounds. For question number 66, option number 3 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 67. In question number 67, consider the following statements for Aldred-Rocco electronegativity, Chi-AR. Chi-AR stands for electronegativity of Aldred-Rocco, right? So 4 different statements are provided. We have to map with this Aldred-Rocco electronegativity scale. In order to get this, first let us see what is electronegativity and what are the measures to indicate this electronegativity. Electronegativity is nothing but the tendency to gain the bond pair electrons towards that. Okay, tendency to gain the bond pair electrons, tendency to gain the electron pair towards that is said to be a electronegativity. That can be measured by 3 different scales. One is called Pauling scale, second is called Mulliken scale, third is called Aldred-Rocco scale. By using these 3, it is possible to measure electronegativity of the given element. Here, specifically, they are asking about Aldred-Rocco electronegativity. That's the reason why we have to consider the equation Aldred-Rocco electronegativity formula. Electronegativity is equal to 3590 Z effective. Z stands for charge present on the given atom by R covalent, the radius of covalent atom by 1 picometer whole square plus 0.744. Okay, so this is about the formula for Aldred-Rocco electronegativity measurement. It can be written in another form also. 3590 Z effective by, so R covalent by 1 picometer, denominator 1, you can simply write this as R square covalent, and this will be plus 0.744. So this will be the formula. In this formula, what is the relation between electronegativity and charge? So charge is a numerator. That's the reason why there is a direct proportionality. Electronegativity is directly proportional to Z effective. Electronegativity is directly proportional to Z effective. This is the right statement. Option number 1 will be the right statement only. And electronegativity is inversely proportional to square of or covalent, radius of covalent. Electronegativity is inversely because R covalent square is present in the denominator. We can assign this as inverse proportionality. That's the reason why Chi-AR is inversely proportional to R square covalent, right? So Chi-AR directly proportional to Z effective, Chi-AR inversely proportional to R square covalent. These option number 1 and 4 are suitable statements for Aldred-Rocco electronegativity. So option number 1. For question number 67, option number 1 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 68. The reaction of xenon hexafluoride with a limited amount of quartz gives compound A. Then reaction with equivalent amount of xenon trioxide gives A and B. The product A and B respectively. So it is the direct sequential order of chemical reactivity of inert gases, 0 group elements. We are given with xenon hexafluoride and it is treated with quartz. Quartz is the allotropic form of silica, right? So xenon hexafluoride when treated with SiO2. So here there is a formation of xenon OA4. So being it is attached with oxygen and it used to lose the fluorine atoms towards the silicon, so that there is a formation of xenon oxytetrafluoride. Oxygen being associated with this xenon. Xenon oxytetrafluoride will be formed and one more byproduct will be silicon tetrafluoride. For this purpose, we have to take 2:1 ratio, right? So this will be the A product. Now this A will be treated with xenon trioxide. Upon treating with xenon trioxide, there is a possibility of xenon O2F2. Xenon dioxide difluoride will be formed. Xenon dioxide difluoride will be formed here. So this will be the final product what we are expecting, compound B. So we are taking starting material, that is xenon hexafluoride, which is represented here. It is the octahedral complex. Now xenon hexafluoride treated with silica so that it turned into xenon double bond wo. 4 fluoro groups are present in this equatorial position. It is said to be a square pyramidal compound. And xenon oxytetrafluoride is the name of this compound. Now upon treating with xenon trioxide, it is turned into xenon O2F2. Xenon O2F2 is represented here. It is of seesaw structure. It is of seesaw structure. So these are the probable products A and B. Let us see where all these mentioned. A will be OF4, B will be O2F2. So for question number 68, option number 2 will be the right answer. Let us move on to next question, question number 69. Question number 69, the energies of interactions ion pair, ion dipole, dipole interactions are inversely proportional to. Here, we already know that whenever a molecule is taken, within the molecule type of interactions are ion-ion interactions, ion dipole interactions, otherwise dipole interactions. Always the strong forces, electrostatic forces of attractions are present in this ion-ion interactions. Ion dipole interactions are moderate. Dipole interactions are said to be very weak in nature. Right? So this is about the type of interaction, strength of interactions. Now let us see what is the relation between their energy with respect to radius. Right? So in order to get that, 4 options are given to us. First, let us consider ion-ion interactions. One positive charge, another negative charge, both are held together by electrostatic forces of interactions. Right? Let us consider ion dipole. Ion dipole is in the sense any charge is in combination with dipole. Dipole in the sense within the molecule charge separation, entire charge separation is not possible, but partial charge generation is possible. That is said to be a dipole. Dipole means 2 poles are there, but not charge separation. Completely separation will not be there. Within the molecule, one end positive, another end negative charges will be there. That is said to be a dipole. This is about ion dipole system. Now dipole in the sense within the one molecule 2 charges will be there. Another molecule also have partial distribution of charges. Both are 2 dipoles only. So these are the 3 possible interactions: ion-ion, ion dipole, and dipole interactions. For ion-ion interactions, what will be the formula? V is equal to minus k Z square by R. This will be the formula. Energy is inversely proportional to what? Radius of this covalent nature. So energy is, for ion, energy is inversely proportional to R. For ion, R will be the right answer. When we consider ion dipole is denoted with mu. So dipole is given by R into Q. So here dipole is induced here. That's the reason why within the formula we have to introduce this dipole term into this equation. Now it will become V is equal to minus K into Z square mu by R into R. This will be the formula for ion dipole interaction. What will be the formula? V is equal to minus K Z square mu by R into R, because we substituted here dipole term into this equation. Then energy is inversely proportional to what term? R square term. In case of ion dipole, what is the second term? Ion dipole, that energy is inversely proportional to R square, right? So this is the second strategy. And third is about, we have to discuss about dipole interactions. Both the dipoles are there, so we have to consider mu square here, because both are dipoles, right? Mu are provided for both the dipoles. One dipole is equal to R into Q, another dipole is equal to R into Q. So that energy term is associated with V is equal to minus KZ square mu square by R into R into R. How many? 3 R's are there. So energy is inversely proportional to R cube here. Inversely proportional to R cube. In what case? In dipole-dipole interactions, it will be R cube. For ion-ion interaction, R inverse proportionality. For ion dipole, inversely proportional to R square. For dipole-dipole, inversely proportional to R cube. Right? For question number 69, option number 1 will be the right answer. Let us move on to question number 70. It is a kind of match the following and purely given for A block elements. And these are the systems of only lanthanide elements, not actinides. All these are the elements of lanthanides only. And we have to map with the suitable term which are given in the column A. FF transition is not possible in which element? All A block elements are associated with transition of lower level F electrons into higher level F orbital. That transition is said to be FF transition. FF transition stands for transition of electrons from lower ground state F orbital into higher excited state F orbital is said to be a FF transition. Because of FF transition, few of A block elements are existing in colored nature. That is because of absorption of visible region. During this transition, if they are absorbing visible light, then those complexes will exist in colored nature. What they are asking for, FF transition is not possible. So when vacant sites are present within the excited state, then only electrons will be excited. If all are paid, all the electrons are completely occupied, in that case transition may not be possible because all the orbitals are completely filled. That is only possible in this lutetium. What's the configuration of lutetium? 4f14, pi d1, 6s2. In this f orbital, the maximum capacity will be 14 electrons. So excitation may not be possible, FF transition may not be possible because all the F orbitals are completely occupied. Hence, we can say FF transition is not at all possible in the lutetium +3. +3 stands for which electrons will be discarded? These electrons will be eliminated so that it exists in lutetium +3 state. Right? So let us write that lutetium +3 state also. It can be clearly represented and it can be clearly understood for us if we write like this. In case of lutetium +3 state, here only the thing possible is 0 and here also you can find 0, right? So this is about the lutetium +3, where 14 electrons are present in F orbital, so that excitation may not be possible, transition may not be possible. And the second option will be 5d07F emission. Here it is very clear to understand that emission stands for excited atoms now turning into the ground state is called emission. By the emission of energy, they turned into the ground state. Here also emission term is given. That means the product term symbol will be the ground state term symbol. We have to get this ground state term symbol, which is given for 7Fn and which is given for 7Fn emission from this 5dZ0, 5d0. So let us predict. For that purpose, here is the reference. Emission spectra of europium and terbium are shown to expect 5d0 to 7Fn, which is given for this europium, and for this terbium 5d4 is turned into 7Fn state. So this is a reference provided to us. Based on this, europium is mapped for this D5 system to F7 system. Then terbium is mapped with D5 system to F7 system. So let us see how it can be predicted. For that purpose, we have complete detailed explanation here. So europium plus 3 is in F6 configuration. So F electrons are 6, we can assign F electron 6 contribution in this F orbital. And when we calculate its L value from this, here it is denoted with +3, +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, -3. These are the magnetic quantum number assigned to these electrons. So when we calculate its L value, it will be like, so upon, so -2 +2 get cancelled, +1 -1 get cancelled, it will be obviously 0. -3 +3 cancellation not possible. That's why we can assign L value as 3 only. L value as 3 only. How many unpaired electrons are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unpaired electrons, each having half spin. That's why S is taken as 3. So S is taken as 3, right? So 3 will be the S value. Let us find out spin multiplicity. 2 into S plus 1, 2 into S value is 3 here, 2 into 3 and plus 1 will be there. Total 2S plus 1 formula will become 7. So how can we assign this term symbol? L to the power 2S plus 1 and the subscript will be J. J values will be laying from L minus S to L plus S. If orbitals are less than half filled, you can say L minus S formula. If more than half filled, we have to assign L plus S formula in order to calculate the J value. Here F6 system comes under less than half filled formula only. That's why we have to go with L minus S formula. L value is, what is L value here? Just now we calculated L is equal to 3. L is equal to 3. S value will be 3 only. So 3 minus 3, it will become 0. So 7F0 is denoted for what? Uranium plus 3. For terbium, it is the kind of F8 system. F8 system where the electrons are in this manner, and we have 2 electrons in this first F orbital, remaining all are singly occupied, right? So +2 -2 get cancelled, +3 -3 get cancelled, +1 -1 get cancelled. 1 plus 3 will be there. Okay, one more +3 will be there. That's why L value becomes 3. For L value 3, F is the term symbol. L is equal to 0 S, L is equal to 1 P, L is equal to 2 D, L is equal to 3 F is the term symbol. So F will be taken here. 2S plus 1. How many unpaired electrons are there? These 2 electrons got paired. That's the reason why unpaired electrons will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 unpaired electrons are given with S is equal to 3, right? So that's why 2 into 3 plus 1, it will become 7. So here spin multiplicity is given as 7, and the J value can be calculated by taking L plus S formula, being it is more than half filled type of electronic configuration. So L value is 3, S value is also 3, 3 plus 3, it will become 6. Its term symbol will be 7F6. So in this way, we can predict this term symbol, ground state term symbol for uranium and terbium. So let us go with their term symbols. So here 0 state will be given. This is mapped with this uranium, and D4 system is there, that is mapped with this terbium. Both comes under 7F systems only, there is no doubt. But subscript 0 is given for uranium, subscript 4 is given for this terbium, right? For A, FF transition not possible is a suitable answer, lutetium plus 3. So 5D is not to 7F in emission is possible for uranium. 5D4 to 7F in emission is possible for terbium plus 3, right? And the last one is overlapping J levels. So only the option left over will be samarium plus 3. This samarium plus 3 is of D5 system. In this D5 system, the deviation in the spectrum is mainly arised due to the overlapping of J values. So their J values got overlapped, they become clumsy. That's the reason why there is a deviation in its spectral lines will be observed. So for option number D, this 3 will be the right map. So that let us see where the correct matching will be there. FF transition not possible in lutetium, 2 will be the right answer. 5D not to 7F in uranium. Here B 4 is the right one. Then 5D4 to 7Fn, that is terbium plus 3. C with 1 is the correct one. Overlapping J values are assigned for the samarium plus 3. D with 3. For question number 70, option number 3 will be the right answer. So by this we completed series 1 where 10 questions from 61 to 17 have been clearly discussed. Hope it will be very much helpful. Thank you very much for your patience listening.